Hi, I'm Jay, and today I'm going to show you how to replace the battery in a Toyota Camry. Now, how do you know you need a new car battery? Well, you're going to find out the hard way, usually on a dark, rainy night far, far away from home. Now, if your car has a battery in it and it's been doing fine, but that battery is a number of years old, we're going to say 4 or more years old, it's probably just the battery. Now, if you have trouble with your car and you got to try turning that key 6-8 times, this is probably not the video for you because you likely have other issues with your car. We're here to just replace the battery, so let's do it. Now, if your car still has power, and you see this does, you might want to go through and write down all your radio stations because they're going to probably be erased. If your vehicle requires a code for the radio, I'm not going to be covering that because this is like a normal person's car and it doesn't have any of that malarkey. You just put the new battery in and go. So if you need a code or something like that, check the owner's manual for your car and that'll tell you what you're going to need as far as that goes. Here are some of the tools you may need. Some of these are optional, but you're absolutely going to need some sort of wrench. I prefer a ratchet wrench like that. I'm using an extension. This is a 1/4-inch drive right here, and it's a wobbly extension here as well. That's handy. 10mm socket. And you'll notice it's wobbly. That just helps to get on the bolt easier. You're going to need a battery cleaning brush like this. You can get this at an auto parts store, your big box home improvement stores, in the plumbing section actually, because this is also a plumber's tool. Looks just like this, could be any color, anything like that, and it's got the brushes at the end and in the center here, just like that. There's plastic clips that you may or may not have that you need to remove. So various screwdrivers, different sizes, styles, shapes, stuff like that. Pliers to break them out, things like that. Not shown because I don't have one, is a 10mm deep wall socket. Same as this, but longer. That'll be really helpful later on. I'm going to end up using a nice pair of linesman's pliers on it. And one last thing that you are going to need is some sort of grease. Up to you what you want to use. Axle grease will work. Just some sort of grease, really. This is a synthetic or silicone grease. I got a big tub of this. It's going to be around forever, so you need that to put on the battery terminals there, and if all else fails, a bigger hammer. Now in the Camrys, Toyota has left this simple. They've had the battery on the driver's side of the car right in front since at least 1986 that I know of, and probably even before that, and that is going until, I can tell you for sure, about 2013. It may be different in newer cars. This happens to be a 2007 Toyota Camry XLE with the 3.5 liter V6. So we got the battery here. You have your positive, you have your negative terminals there, and there is a hold down. That's this bar here. Now if you take a look, you got a bolt here and you can't get to that one. So you're going to have to remove this plastic cover. How you do that is up to you. Here's what I can tell you about the plastic cover. It's exactly that, a stupid plastic cover. It actually serves no real function and it's in the way. So you're going to have to remove this for the first time. There are a series of clips. You got one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. How you get those clips out, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you, just get in there with a screwdriver and just break them out because you don't need the clips. The clips make it look nice. I don't know who's going under your hood, but it's either me or a mechanic, and neither of us care what it looks like. So unless you're entering the car in a show, you got to remove these clips. So like I said, dig them out with a screwdriver, pair of pliers, jackhammer, whatever you got to do, and this panel will become loose and you can take it out and just get rid of it. Now we have access to that bolt that we needed. Okay, before we get started here, you want to disconnect power. Like I said, you got your positive and your negative. Hear this out, this is how it goes. Negative off first, and then when you install the battery, it goes on last. So off first, on last. So we're going to take the negative off, then the positive off. The reason you do that is because if I were to open this up, it's just a cover on there like you see, and this wrench shorted across that, this is going to light up and turn bright red, maybe even white hot, destroy the battery, maybe even cause a fire. It's bad. The negative is connected to all the metal on the car, so we can cover this, the wrench won't even hit it, but we can go here and we're going to go ahead. This is a 10mm socket, okay, and we're going to loosen this up. How loose? Till you can get the clamp off. I don't know. Let's see if that'll do. That's plenty off. So we should be able to just wiggle this. She's on there tight. And there we go. So now we have disconnected that from the car. We'll just sort of shove it out of the way. Everything is safe now. Again, you don't want to short the wrench across that, but now we have the positive over here. I need a little bit shorter wrench here, so I'm just going to remove my extension. I think that'll be just fine. It's just standard socket wrench. There's nothing special here. Get that on there and loosen this up. There we go. I should be able to take that off. There we go. Now, I don't know if you saw, there's some crunchy, crusty stuff there. We're going to address that before we go and put the new battery in. So we have our cables disconnected. It doesn't matter if one of them touches. It's not going to make any difference. We'll get that out of the way. And now we can remove the hold-down bolts for this bracket here that holds the battery in place. So to do that, you have two bolts. These also are 10mm. So right here, this one just comes right out. Now it's rusty. It's going to take a little force. A lot of force. But it'll come out. And you got to take that all the way out. So we're going to run that all the way. And there we go. Put that in a safe place. There's one there. That should work. All right, now, this back one is going to be a problem. It looks loose and it looks like you might be able to take it out. You can't yet. You got to loosen this bolt. This one might also be rusty. Turning it can be a problem. And the reason why is your socket may not be long enough to get on that bolt. Now, if that's the case, there's a couple things you can do. First of all, what you really should use for that is a deep wall socket. That's exactly the same socket, but it's longer. And that way, the head of this bolt won't be a problem. There'll be enough room in the socket that it won't interfere. On this car, it just magically fits. So that's really all there is to it. So we're going to loosen that up and take that out. This has to come all the way off as well. And this is a little, the threads are not in the greatest shape. So let me just work with this for a minute. It's going to take just a moment. Okay, that's come off. I'll put that in the same safe place there. And now this lifts up, and you're going to need this, so don't get rid of it, but we don't need it for now. So right now, our battery is disconnected. The cables are disconnected. Everything is free. This weighs 40 some odd pounds, so just take it, get whatever you need out of the way, and pull it out of the car. All right, a couple of things here that we got to go over here. This was that bolt in the back. You don't want to lose this. It's important, and you're going to need it. So hang on to that. This is called the J bolt because it looks like a J. So that's why it's called that. On this car, the tray can come out as well. It's got all sorts of nasty looking stuff, as you can see, all kinds of. So I'm going to just clean that off. So we'll put that aside. Remember which way it goes. This little cutout in the back. You don't have to remove this, but I'm going to clean it up now that I have it out. But I do want to show you this here. Right back here, and that would be in that little notch that was in the tray, you're going to see this well, this opening here. And that is where the J-bolt goes. There is a hole in the back of it. So you stick it in there and turn it, and now you see you can't pull up on it. And then when you bolt it down, that's going to hold the battery. So this is going to stay loose like that. So we're just going to remove that, get it out of the way, and then we're going to put it back when we replace the battery. So we're looking at the label on the old battery right now. You need to get a new one. Where you get this from, that's up to you. Now, if you don't want to even learn about anything about this, that's fine. Your auto parts store can look up the type of battery you need, but they also can be conniving and try to sell you stuff you don't need. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Like I said, this was a 2007 Toyota Camry. This came with a regular flooded battery. It's called a regular flooded battery. Now, there are other types out there, AGM and different varieties thereof. You're not really going to need that for a standard car. What you must do, however, is get the type that your car calls for. It doesn't matter what brand, that's totally up to you. If it came with an AGM battery, that's the kind you need. If it came with a regular flooded, that's the kind you should put in. There is some leeway in that, but generally you want to stick to what the car originally came with. The next thing we're going to talk about is the group size. The group size. Now this says part number 24F-C. I don't know what the -C means, but 24F is the group size. And typically the part number is going to have the group size in it. For these Camrys, it typically, but not always, takes either a group 35 or a 24F. Now what's the difference? The 35 is going to be a little bit shorter by about an inch. It also is going to play into the CCA, or cold cranking amps. The general rule of thumb is you want to get a battery that has the highest cold cranking amps in a physical size that will fit your vehicle. These Camrys can take, like I said, either a 35 or a 24F group size. The difference is the 35 is a little bit narrower and will have lower CCA, lower cold cranking amps, than the 24F. The trade-off is it's going to be about 4 pounds lighter. If you want to work out the numbers in terms of miles per gallon you're going to save over the life of, say, 5 years, you can go right ahead, but I don't think it's going to add up to much of anything. If it came with a 24F, put a 24F in. If there's room for it to take a 24F, put a 24F in. You're just going to be better off. Always get the highest CCA that you can in that particular group size. This is a 650. Like I said, what I'm going to do now is take this to the auto parts store and get a replacement, and that actually has higher CCA. Now, what does CCA mean? What does it do? Well, really what it's going to come down to, and this is really a major thing if you live in colder climates where it gets to freezing or even below freezing or even well below freezing, or hell is frozen over already cold by you, you want to get the highest CCA. CCA is cold cranking amps, and like I said, this one is a 650. That's at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees C. Under higher temperatures, it puts out a higher CCA than that. So that's why you want a bigger cold cranking amp number, because that way if it's really, really cold and you need jumper cables just to get the driver started, that's why you want the higher CCA. So at least once you get the driver started, hopefully the car will start. So now we're going to use a battery brush. Looks something like one of these, could be a different color. It's all the same. And what you're going to do is take one of the outside brushes, because they're different sizes, and just go right inside and brush out everything that's there. You want to work on that really good and get nice shiny metal on that. So we're going to do that to this one, and take your time with it. Clean it up good. And we're going to do the same with this one. This one had more crusty stuff. In fact, that could probably use the larger one, like that. And we'll get these cleaned up real good, and then we'll put the new battery in. See, shined it right up, and especially on the inside, if you can see, nice shiny metal. That's what you want. So now we're going to put the new battery in. So I just went and picked this one up. This is a Neverlast Gold. As you can tell, this one is 750 cold cranking amps compared to the 650. So it should theoretically do better in the winter. This particular one I got from AutoZone. You can go to whatever parts supply house that you want. Walmart even sells batteries, but I wouldn't trust many of their products. You also want to look for a fresh battery. You'll see on the lower right this purple sticker that says 722. Right now it's 822. That was the newest they had, and it's still kind of the beginning of August, so that makes sense. It's about as fresh as you're possibly going to get. The first one on the shelf said 622. I didn't want to buy a 2-month-old battery when I could buy a 1-month-old battery. So I bought the 1-month-old battery. It's the same price, so get the freshest one you can. Leave the ones that are not so fresh for those who don't know the difference. Now you know. This particular one has a 3-year warranty. Now, batteries used to... I had a battery that lasted 9 years once. It was Japanese made. It was actually a Panasonic car battery. And it lasted for 9 years, and it didn't actually die outright. I replaced it because it was cranking really slow. So I said, yeah, this thing has definitely lived its life. Let me replace it before I get stuck. I've never had a battery as good as that, and you're never going to get one either. I've had mixed results with these. I bought 3. This is, I think, the 4th one I've ever bought. Out of the other 3, one was kind of a dud and went dead in about a year. The other 2 pretty well held up, so they haven't been too bad. They come with a 3-year warranty now as of this time, August 2022, and it's 3-year replacement warranty. They don't prorate it over a period after the 3 years or anything like they used to anymore, because everything is cheapened out, and of course the price has gone up and up and up. So I said, what's the warranty? The lady said 3 years. I said, good, I'll see you in 3 years. That's right. If you're proactive, you can get yourself a free battery for life for your car. There's ways to make the battery dead beyond just leaving your headlights on. So I didn't tell you you can do that, but you can. Now we're going to go put it in the car. This is all muscle. That's really all it is, because it's 40 some odd pounds. Alright, so now we're ready to reinstall the battery. So here's the bottom tray. I just sprayed it off with the hose and let it dry in the sun. It's a nice sunny day. See these 2 little bump outs there? Fit in these holes down here. So here's where it gets wonky. You say, oh, well, let me fit this in and I'll get those things in the holes, right? That makes sense. And then I'll go and I'll put this thing in. It doesn't work that way. You got to put this in first, and then it gets wonky anyway. So this goes down in there like that, okay? And just sort of lean it back. That's fine too. Just somewhere there where it doesn't fall. Now we're going to put this in and get the little dimples in the holes there. So that's not difficult either. But you got to fit it in. And it gets a little, you know, you got to really line it up good. There it is there. And now you notice that this bolt is kind of, you know, like it doesn't want to go, but it's perfectly fine there. So that stays just like that. Now I'm just going to lift the battery and set it on this tray. I got all this extra junk here for HID headlights, so it's a little bit of a battle for me. Plus, you got to watch out for your cables when you go to put the battery in, because you don't want to put the battery on top of the cables, because then you can't connect it. So let me just get the battery in the car. So now we're going to put the hold down back, put it under the handle, because on the battery, if your battery has one, this has to go through that hole. That has to line up with the hole here. So pick it up, just stick that through like that, and just move it until that lines up. We'll get that bolt started by hand. It's a little rusty. You can put some oil on it if you want, which I might do. But that's in, and the nut that goes on here, we'll screw on and get that set as well. Okay, there we go, and I'm just going to tighten these bolts down now. Alright, so we're ready to hook up the cables to the battery, and a couple things you need to know. First and foremost, you can't put the red on that plastic thing, because plastic isn't a conductor. So you have to take that off for the battery to work. Now that we've done that, we can go ahead and put these on. Now, you want to put some sort of grease on the terminals and in there. It's up to you what you want to use. Here's what I have on hand, this multi-purpose synthetic grease. It's like a silicone grease, all right? And you just take some, you can get a brush if you want and be nice about it, and smear that all over the terminal. The entire thing, just get a nice even coat, put some in there, and get that coated as well. Let me just do a nice job on both the terminals. You might be saying, oh, you know, this grease, it's never going to conduct electricity now. It will. Once you get the terminals on there and you tighten it down, what happens is the metal is porous. It has little hills and valleys in it. And what's going to happen when you tighten it down is it's going to squeeze out the grease from the hills. The valleys will be coated with that, and the whole thing should theoretically have protection against corrosion. That's the idea. So now we're going to take this connector and wiggle it. Let me just get the little hat out of the way here. There we go. And we're just going to wiggle it down. You have to go all the way down and seat it all the way. Okay? So something like that. And now we're going to take our wrench. Notice positive first. Now we're going to tighten this down. Do not connect the negative until instructed. So we have our positive done. That's a nice tight connection, and it won't move. You don't want to go super tight. Tight enough that this won't wiggle back and forth, but not so tight that you break the damn thing. Okay, we can cover that up. Now we're going to hook the negative up. We got to talk before you do this. When you hook this up, you're going to get a spark. How big? Depends on if you left anything on in the car or anything like that. You're going to get a spark. Don't be afraid. It's once and done. Okay? Next thing you need to know, if you have an aftermarket remote start for the car, it may be wise to have somebody in the car stepping on the brake pedal. For some reason, those systems, at least back in my day, would go to start the engine immediately when hooked up, well, within a second or so. And if you don't have this tightened down, you're going to get a lot of sparks, and it's just not going to make for a good time. So be ready for the spark. Again, aftermarket remote start system have somebody on the brake. Yours may or may not do that, I don't know. But we're gonna just go and hook this up. Just do it deliberately. There we go. Not even a spark really. So we're all set. Get that nice and seated down on there. And I will tighten this down. Now it's getting tight. Let's try that, see if that's good. Nope, still wiggles, so we got to do a little bit more. So let me just tighten that a little more. Eagle-eyed viewers may notice that the J-bolt is a lot longer, and there's no way that the socket I had would fit on that. And the reason why it was short and I was able to take it out before, remember the old battery was AAA? That's right. That was never installed. The J-bolt was never installed properly with that battery. I never had to take it out or service it, so I got stuck with that, and I ended up using my linesman's pliers on it like that to get it nice and tight as such. Again, if you had a deep wall socket, it would go right on there, make the job a lot easier. All right, everything is back together. Everything's good. Tools are safely out of the way, nowhere where they're going to fall, and it's time for the moment of truth. This car has a key fob and the push button ignition. So all I have to do is grab the door handle. Let's see if it likes me. It does. That's a great sign. Sometimes the system for your key fob and this detection thing might take up to 2 minutes before it's going to recognize anything. So don't despair if it doesn't work right away. Now we'll get in the car. And yeah, it's been roasting in here in the sun. Now we're going to press the button once. Good. Now we had all this power before. We're going to press again. Look here. See that flashing? This fancy climate control has to do an initialization procedure. If your vehicle doesn't have that, no worries. All right, but if you have the fancy one like this, it has an initialization procedure. It's going to blink lights and do all kinds of crazy stuff like that. Now, yes, the dashboard does say low washer fluid. And the reason it says that is because with the price of inflation now, a gallon jug of washer fluid is more than a gallon of gas. It's the summertime now, so I really don't need the stuff, so I'm just waiting on it, and I leave the little warning there. But it's finally time to see if it starts. So we'll step on the brake pedal as you do with these cars, push the button here, and it starts right up. Beautiful. So we're all set with a brand new battery. Now, you're not done yet. First you got to clean up your tools and all that. The next thing you need to know is the car's computer, the ECU, electronic control unit, has now forgotten the run characteristics of the engine. That means it's going to start and it's going to run. Everything's fine, it's running perfect, just as you'd expect. But as it warms up and the temperature goes up a bit, it's going to idle down lower than it ever has before. And when it does that, the engine may shake, it may stumble, it may run rough. However, all you need to do is drive. Now, depending on the car, you might have to 2-foot it around town, but it should only be about 10 miles tops before everything resets. Just take it on a nice little ride for about 10 miles or so, and when you get back or get to a traffic light or something, that should idle where it normally does, and you're all set. It's a normal process of this, and like I said, as I leave this run, in fact, I'll even wait for it for you, just so I can show you. See, if you take a look, we're turning, this is a V6, this is turning about 700 RPM, barely. When I put it in gear, just a little over 500 RPM. That's too slow, and it's a little shaky and that. Now, might even go a little lower than that, and in another car I had, also a Camry years ago, it actually stalled on me a couple of times. So, again, like I said, about a 10-mile drive, you should be back in business, and it'll relearn. If not, by the next day, you should be good to go. I'm taking her for a drive now. As you can see, the Big 6 is not happy right now. The RPM is still kind of low, although it has come up a little bit. And I got a stop sign here when I come down, and then when I get on it going right off the line, it's sluggish and doesn't want to respond. We're getting a little bit better, so it's picking up already in only about 8 blocks. But like I said, give it a good 10-mile run. You'll be all right. We're doing better. We're almost there. I'm going to take this for a little run on the highway. We'll see what she does. All right, let's give her some revs. Oh yeah, she's running real nice. I made it 9 miles, and there we are in drive with the AC on. We're pulling about 700 RPM. Put it in park. Obviously that'll reset itself. Everything's good. Shut the AC off. And it is idling just perfect. If you have a sunroof or a moonroof, there is a possibility that it may not open or close properly. In other words, the one-touch feature to make it open all the way and close all the way. If it doesn't do that, I have a video on how to reset that. I'll leave a link in the video description so you can find that. So now we got to put this cover back. You just got to worry about where you open the hood from. Just get that latched in, and then just get it down around the rubber bumpers on the sides. You can also take these ears and tuck them under the rubber for a little bit cleaner look. I don't like doing that, and like I said, with the plastic clips and that, leave them out. They serve no purpose. When you drive around, it's never going to rattle or make any noise with the hood closed, so it's never going to make any difference. Just leave it there, because if you ever have to look at something, see if your radiator fan's running, anything like that, it just pulls right out, and it makes it so much easier. Now if you want, they do sell the clips for it at the auto parts store. You can get them right there, or you can find them online, Amazon, anything like that. Probably even eBay, they sell replacements. But like I said, I just leave it out. Say, if this video helped you out, please click the like and subscribe buttons. There's also the big thanks button down there. That really helps me out and helps the channel out as well. So I'd appreciate if you could click that. And let me know what you thought down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope this helped you out. And take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.